The most recent chapter of One Piece has entirely solidified my beliefs that the information we learn in One Piece is entirely circumstantial and can never be taken at face value. And furthermore, Agenda Piece is, it's actually real. It's not even a joke at this point. There's obvious spoilers for the most recent chapter in One Piece, which is currently 1166, and we're in Albath. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, basically at the very beginning of this chapter, Saint Figarland Garling, who is currently a Holy Knight in the series at this point, just finished off Rock's Dizabek. Pause. This is massive because the entire time of God Valley, we were wondering how did he get the title, the Champion of God Valley? And twice, he got off-screen by Rock's Dizabek. Twice off-screen. Now, yes, no one's slandering him for this. Well, some people are, but no, I'm not slandering him for this because I think Rox is just in a league of his own at this point. But how did he get this title? Well, it turns out he just finished off a guy who's on his back, on his deathbed already. Mind you, his name is the Champion of God Valley. Garp is the hero of the Marines, and even then, while he did save a lot of people, it's hard to say that he deserves it after this showing. It's just a fact that at this point in the series, any information we learn has to be taken within the context of when it was first said. What do I mean by this? Well, clearly, the world government is pushing the agenda that Garp is the hero of the Marines, and that Saint Figarland Garling actually did something in God Valley, when in reality, Garp is a hero of the Marines in some ways, but whether he deserved it after this showing, it's questionable. And Saint Figarland Garling is by no means the champion of God Valley. He got off-screen twice, and then cherry-picked a kill on Rox, who was already dead. So because of this, I think that this chapter inadvertently helps us decide some of the other challenges we've had in the past, such as Mihawk, the world's strongest swordsman, Kaido, the world's strongest creature, and Whitebeard, the world's strongest man. These are three titles that people hold on such a high degree, especially Mihawk when you get him in circumstances like Mihawk versus Shanks, or who will Mihawk fight in the future, when in reality it doesn't even matter because these aren't relevant anymore. I want to further prove my point. We've seen that the champion of God Valley is actually someone who cherry-picked a kill on an already dead man. So what if we go to the world's strongest man? Someone who, yes, I believe that Prime Whitebeard, is the strongest character in all of One Piece. I think he's stronger than Emu, stronger than Prime Rock, stronger than Roger, anyone. If Whitebeard wanted the One Piece, he would have already had it well past his prime. And yes, I know part of the reason he was given the title World's Strongest Man isn't because of his strength in battle, it's because he held the Devil Fruit, the Gura Gura no Mi, that allowed him to literally disfigure and destroy the world by gripping the air. This is true, but I also think it is true that he is in his prime, he was the world's strongest man. But it cannot even kind of be argued that he was still the world's strongest man at his time in Marineford. This is what I'm saying. We need to take these instances in their prime. When he was coined the world's strongest man, I firmly believe he was the world's strongest man. Cut to 20 years later when he has one lung functioning, heart attacks every other second. He has cancer, rocking a do-rag, his mustache is falling apart. He is not the world's strongest man at this point. Let's look at another case. Dragon and the world's most dangerous man, or the world's most wanted criminal. This is true. I mean, and this is more subjective because it's just how the world government feels. They coined this term and they are claiming he is the world's most dangerous. But honestly, I wouldn't even say he is. Sure, he used to be a Marine, but he wasn't even a super high-ranking one at the time. Sure, he's the son of Garp, and I'm sure he knows some internal secrets that he's probably not supposed to know. But at the end of the day, the theory that he was an admiral kind of fell through at this point based on what we've seen at God Valley. So I'm not sure I can call him the world's most dangerous man because at the end of the day, he's just the leader of the revolutionaries. When you have people like Luffy, who has the Sun God Fruit, or people like Robin, who can actively read the poneglyphs and out the world government, I don't think a guy who just leads a group of people against the world government is necessarily the most dangerous. That's what pirates are anyway. They're people who are actively against the world government. Let's look at more instances of just Oda lying to us, or at least in the moment that something might be true and yet it might not be anymore. Let's look at Kaido, the world's strongest creature. And I think Kaido's actually interesting because he has two main instances of stuff where we got some exposition on information on Kaido, where he's the world's strongest creature, and the one I want to look at, land, sea, or air. Always bet on Kaido. Now, I think that one's even more interesting because that's a case where we were explicitly told in a 1v1, bet on Kaido, and yet in a 1v1, Kaido lost. Now, it wasn't really a 1v1. He was holding up Onigashima. He fought an entire gauntlet before he got to Luffy. He beat Luffy 3 times before he had to lose to Luffy. This is all true, but it also should be known that in the end, he did lose a 1v1. So once again, at the time, he may have been a 1v1 demon. And even though I do believe that if you put a fresh Gear 5 Luffy and a fresh Kaido in a room, I still, at this point in the manga, have Kaido walking out victor in an extreme diff. That doesn't matter. He went against the Oda quote. And King of Beasts, world's strongest beast, world's strongest creature. What does this even mean? What is another creature? We don't really even know. So yes, this is technically like an upscale. We're being told he's strong. He's the world's strongest of something, but we don't even know what to compare him to. Whereas Whitebeard is the world's strongest man. You look at every man. He is explicitly told he's stronger than them. Well, is Kaido not a man? What's the difference between a man and beast? We don't really know. Are they talking about Zoandel fruit users? I don't really think so. It's impossible to say. So these titles literally mean nothing because they're given to them and they're told to us at a time when it was relevant and now it no longer is. And finally, the purpose of this video. This chapter, the most recent one, even though it has nothing to do with Mihawk, in my mind, it is actually a Mihawk downscale. Yes, agenda piece is being pushed here, and I don't care. I will always put Shanks over Mihawk, and I don't care. I'm not calling him a hockey man. I'm not saying that he should have the title of the world's strongest swordsman, world's greatest swordsman. It doesn't matter. The time, we know that Shanks and Mihawk used to have a legendary duels. Whitebeard said this himself. Whitebeard said, if people could see some of the battles that you did in the past, like, no one would underestimate you. It doesn't matter if you put Mihawk or Shanks above one another, because at the end of the day, it's an impossible battle to say. They won't fight each other anymore. So whether you want to say that back in the past, Mihawk was stronger, fine. If you want to say that, I don't care. But it doesn't matter because today he is not. One of them is a Yonko, the other one is not. One of them has strong crew, one of them has actual feats, Wi-Fi hockeying an admiral way. The other one just sits there in a chair like this. Mihawk's best feat is cutting up Buggy. That's not true. Mihawk's best feat is cutting like that iceberg. It is actually impressive that Mihawk has not used a named attack yet and has done some crazy outputs such as at Marineford. But that doesn't really matter. If you do want to say that Mihawk was stronger in the past, that's fine. But once again, what have I been drilling home all video? It doesn't matter what is said. It matters why it's said and when it was said. Mihawk may have been stronger back in the day, but they haven't fought in like 20 years. Since Shanks lost his arms, so at least over 15 years ago, they haven't fought. You can't say one is stronger than the other because we simply don't know. And is Whitebeard not a swordsman? Whitebeard has a sword. It's called a supreme grade blade. A blade is a sword. So if he's the world's strongest man, how is he not the world's strongest swordsman? It's these things that are inconsistent in Oda's speech. And I think it's consistent at the time that they were uttered, but now you really have to look at why it was said and when it was said. I'm telling you, Agenda Piece is in full throttle right now. And we need people with actual media literacy to be paying attention. But thank you for watching. If you think I'm absolutely insane, I mean, go ahead and tell me down in the comments. If you agree or you think, whatever the case, there's more to go over on this chapter. I think it was a pretty good chapter, but this tiny little moment stuck out to me so much because how did he get this title, hero or champion of God Valley, from doing literally nothing? Go back to Doflamingo's speech. The victor decides how it's told. And that's exactly what we're being told. So, if you agree, once again, let me know. If you don't, let me know. Consider liking, subscribing, anything. But until next time, my name is NAK Floppy. Peace.